You are listening to Terra Signals, presented by Normal Paranormal. I am your host, Justin Bamforth. Fear is a funny thing. It can either paralyze us or it can empower us. It can destroy us or it can drive us. For Danielle Harder, she has essentially made fear her prisoner, facing head-on those demons of disaster that you or I would typically run away from. But it's that fascination and flirtation walking the edge of death which I think keeps her alive. And it certainly keeps me intrigued. Now, after first meeting Danielle on set at a video shoot years ago in New York City, I eventually came to form a good friendship with her and quickly realized that there's so much more than meets the eye to this incredibly gifted individual. Danielle is both an actor and an experienced coach working in the health, fitness, and financial industries, and also trained in first responder care as well as rock climbing. She is also a mental health enthusiast with a Bachelor of Arts focused in forensic psychology and a minor in criminology from John Jay College at CUNY. Today, she can be seen high atop the New York skyline as a building inspector, scaling the sides of skyscrapers like a Spider Woman while you just stroll by looking down at your phone. But without further ado, I welcome our friendly neighborhood wall crawler, Danielle Harder, to the show.
Hello. Hi, Justin. Thank you for having me.
One of the things that I wanted to discuss with you is identifying fear and overcoming it, right? At face value, when I see some of your Instagram photos that you post, you are scaling these massive skyscrapers in New York City, and you're making it look effortless. You are just like, you're sometimes you're waving at the camera, you're taking a selfie while you're doing this. Like, these are terrifying things. And yet it doesn't terrify you. How come?
You know what? People will say it's terrifying and they'll say, oh my God, you're so brave for doing the terrifying thing. But I am afraid of everything else. And I had an incident Monday where I was about to go off the side of the wall for a building, and the photographers from my company showed up and the other company. And I had borrowed a piece of equipment from somebody that I didn't know how to use correctly. Well, long story short, it took me forever to get off to the correct side of the building. And I was mortified. I was mortified the entire time. And I just wanted to jump off that building as quickly as, and I couldn't actually. My descender got caught on a ladder, and
What?
the ladder almost went with me, but like it was too heavy. So I was just
Whoa.
so embarrassed. And I'm not fearless. Actually, as soon as I get closer to the ground, I start to get scared because I can hear all the chaos of all the people in the city. And, I can start to smell the smells again. And
Wait, now that in itself is very interesting. Let's get into that. So when you're up there, when you're high above everything, the sounds just seem to like disappear. Is that what happens?
it's a lot quieter and you hear a lot of wind, and, you're just kind of focused on your work because no one can bother you. Although they say it's the opposite for people who are afraid. They say they're unable to work and focus on the inspection and what they're seeing because they're so busy being on high alert.
Oh my goodness. Like how do you get into something like this? Like, what's the application process like?
So for me, it was actually, I took a much different path than most people. I was I was very lucky. I was teaching rock climbing one day, and one of my students was there, and I was kind of just rambling on about, what my fantasy job would be, like what my dream job would be. And I was looking at this window washer, and I was like, I want to climb out there, and like that would be nice if I could just climb out there instead and look at buildings and just hang out all day. And she was like, are you sure? Because what you're describing is actually a job. And I was like, no, no way. Everybody would have it then. And like, I would have so much competition. She's like, nope, no one wants to do it. And she had come to my Saturday class for, I don't know, a couple months, like every week. And she would like talk to me about her work. And then I would say, yeah, I want to do that. She's not an inspector, but she's an engineer. So she would ask me like, oh, are you for real about wanting to climb buildings and stuff. I'm like, yeah, that would be the best thing ever. And I want to climb that one and that one and that one. And I'm pointing at all these buildings out the window. And one day she got me an interview for rope access inspector. And now I'm here. It's been about 8.5 months. It's going really well, like she predicted. She tends to always be right. And
Now, is each time you go up there, is it exciting every single time, or because you're used to it, it's just like, whatever?
I'm grateful every time I go up there.
Grateful for.
Just that I get to do it, and that's my job, is something I'm actually into and I'm happy to do. Like, I love taking photos, and I like being lost in my notes. And
Tell me about this like fascination, which is like climbing in general. Like, where did that begin? How did that start for you?
I've always been climbing. I thought it was like a very efficient way to do things. So like when I was a kid, I grew up in the Philippines, and we did a lot of running around and climbing. Sometimes you have to climb over people's houses and things like that. And then later in California, how the coast, it's really steep, and there's a lot of like smaller beaches. You can either take the stairs and like go all the way back up to your car, which is like literally 1,000 steps is one of the beach names, or you can just climb over that thing that juts out of the water.
So you would climb those things, huh?
Yeah, and like I would just, I climbed out of laziness. Everybody thinks climbing is a workout, but it saves so much time. And so I would just do that. And then when I started climbing in the city, when I moved here a while ago, it just felt very normal and natural. And so I started doing that, and then I started teaching. And
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like parkour, right? The whole point of that is efficiency, getting from point A to point B as quick amount of time as possible, right? I mean, have you ever gotten into that?
no, when I got to the city, I just went to a rock climbing wall instead.
There you go, much safer, right?
I mean, I'm probably doing parkour as I run late to everything, since I am so bad at time management.
It seems like everybody in New York is doing some sort of aspect of parkour, right? They're always
Yeah,
in a rush.
there's
Everybody's always
always
in a rush.
pushing and shoving, and
It's
yeah.
madness. It's very interesting that how you described it when you're coming down from the buildings, right? And then you begin to hear the sounds, you begin to smell the smells. I've never heard it described that way. It's almost like an escape, right? Like a lot of people think of they have to leave the city to escape it, but you just elevate upwards to escape it. So
Yeah. And I also don't have to make the big drive to go out into the woods to go climbing. I'm already there.
obviously you're a rock climbing teacher, but you're also a yoga certified instructor or a
I could teach yoga if I wanted to,
okay. Now,
but I just apply it to climbing.
yeah, because you have to be very flexible when you're climbing, right? It's not, there's nothing rigid
Ideally.
about it.
Right. Ideally, you should be able to have a lot of control of your body, which yoga really helps with.
Now, forgive my ignorance, but obviously I'm not a avid yoga enthusiast or participant. I'm not very flexible at all, but I'm working on that. What I think of yoga is breathing, taking control of the situation in a sense, recentering yourself. Now I'm looking at it from a, not the physical aspect, but more the mental aspect. Do you think that yoga has kind of helped you kind of maintain some sort of control when you're in these, dare I say, scary situations or what we would perceive as scary situations? Has yoga helped?
Um, Unfortunately, no. Although, I don't know if I want to say unfortunately, because I haven't been in a situation where I have felt panicked in that industry.
Okay.
I only was concerned once, and it didn't really have anything to do with the heights or the ropes. It was, I heard a man just screaming bloody murder like 3 stories below me. So I was almost done, and like I didn't want to come down because there was a crazy man down there. And
Good.
it's New York City. There's always
Yeah.
somebody, but like you don't know if they're like, I don't know, if they're gonna hit you or they're gonna like freak out because you came from the sky. And
Did he
you
see
know,
you? Like,
No, and like I was like careful about it and I made sure he was gone before I came down because you don't know what people are thinking. Like you don't know what their interpretation of the world is. And if he's in his bad state of mind and he sees a person coming down from a building, he might get very upset.
Have you ever been in a situation where you've had to like defend yourself from a person in New York?
No, I usually try to hide behind a larger person. I'm pretty good at hiding. Like when I pass by people, like they're like, I don't understand how you can walk past me and like just invisible, I guess. Sometimes.
You really are elusive. You are like a superhero. You you have to like
Thanks.
hide in the shadows, as you're saving the day. When you are in a situation, obviously you can flee, right? You can run and you can hide. But what if you can't hide? What do you do then? Like do you face it head on, or do you come up with an excuse, or what's the process like?
I, and I've had those moments with people. Like I've faced it head on without really knowing what I was doing. Like it was never purposeful. One time a man was trying to block me in the subway, or it looked like he was blocking me. And I don't know if he just like noticed that I didn't really have stuff to steal or like, but I was confused and I looked up at him and I was like, "Oh, hi." Like for no reason, like I don't know him. And then I think he got confused and then he left.
I've heard that when you're in a confrontation with someone who is unstable, that if you kind of like match their instability, it will kind of like confuse them. They will become afraid of you. Now, again, this is just what I've heard. I've never applied this in the real world, but you have a better understanding given your background, right? Like you study this forensic psychology.
Well, it's a broad study, which forensics is really just the study of figuring out why things occurred. I actually work in the forensics department now for what I do, but unrelated. It's a forensics of buildings, so we find out why those things happen. But with forensic psychology, it can be finding out why a person is the way they are or how certain events occurred. We see a lot of that on TV of like violent things occurring and then having to work backwards to figure out how the thing happened and what motivated it. So part of it is the crime scene, part of it is the person, and also the victim. It's not just about the perpetrator. There's also some people are more prone to being victimized in certain ways than other people, like tourists being stolen from, like that kind of thing.
Yeah, because we're living in kind of unstable times, where, I
Yeah.
mean, a lot of people are on edge, a lot of people are fearful. How would you like counsel these people, like to give them kind of like a reassurance that everything will be okay? Because we know everything's going to turn out all right. But in the moment, we don't.
The thing is, we don't know everything is going to be all right, and reassuring people might not be the thing I would want to do. I think because things are maybe this is terrible advice, but it's good to look out for yourself and it's good to be aware. And it does sometimes feel like an anxiety disorder, but at the same time, I think it's an appropriate reaction to where we live, and not necessarily New York City, but just being alive in the world. That could stop any moment, and just enjoy the day because you don't know what's going to happen. So
Yeah, no, I like that. That's a lot of wisdom. I think we can take from that. The craziness, well, craziness. I should probably stop using that term. But the
it's hard.
yeah, the strangeness that's going on in society today. It's unsettling. It's disturbing, but it's everywhere. I don't know. Do you feel sometimes like we're in like an end time scenario?
Oh, always. I've actually started to put together like a little end times, like, I don't know, like what I'm going to do and like who my end time buddies are. And I always feel like we're in the end times because in a way, like it's end times for somebody. It's good to be prepared. Like, don't let it take over your whole life because, you don't want to waste the few years or few days you might have. And it does feel chaotic. And I think the more more people feel that way, the more we kind of rub off on each other. Like what you said about when people are about to give you a strange experience, sometimes you can just confuse them, or you can diffuse the situation because they'll match your emotions, and other people reflect what you give, and we all do that to each other. And now communication is so often and so loud that it's just all those bad feelings have escalated.
There is an aspect of psychic phenomenon where the person feels they kind of like absorb the energy around them, like to an extreme extent. An empath. Have you ever heard that term before?
Yeah, yeah.
Would you consider yourself an empath?
um Sometimes, I think that term started to come about because we all should be like that, but we started to become a little bit numb. I think I am now labeled as an empath because I happen to not be as numb as everybody else. And that numbness is probably a reaction to everything that's going on. It's hard to handle. And I might seem really sensitive, or empaths might seem really sensitive, but we might have been able to remain sensitive because, or not sensitive, but empathetic because we're not so fragile that we have to shut down and not have empathy anymore.
When you go into like a social situation, do you feel like kind of like drained of energy? If it's like a really exciting social situation, like let's say like a party or like a nightclub atmosphere, do you feel like you can only be in that environment for a short period of time before you kind of feel just drained of energy?
I've found ways to get around it, but before that, I didn't like it. I felt like I had to talk all the time, and I didn't even know what I was saying anymore. It felt like a lot of output, and it was just too much, and a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, the reason why I bring that up is that is a trait that a lot of empaths struggle with. And, it's interesting because a lot of empaths that I've met have also had psychic abilities and they've been able to pick up on things. And sometimes it's a struggle to handle those things because most people don't understand it. They don't get it, right? But sometimes you can pick up on an emotion or you can pick up on an energy that somebody tends to hide, but you can kind of like see through that. To them, it's disturbing, right? Like it's like, how did you know that, right? How did you sense that?
Most of people give off some nonverbal cues about the way they feel about things, and when they speak about certain things, it can give away something about what they just said, in contrast to the way they're talking about everything else.
Have you ever had any what you would maybe label or identify as psychic moments?
Yeah, so this one has happened more than once, but I remember one instance in particular where, and I think this is one of those things where I feel like there are nonverbal cues that this person might have given off that I reacted to, but not on a conscious level. I had this dream that my mom's friend was flushing a miscarriage down the toilet, and it was gross. So I remember that dream because we remember when things are gross. And later that day, I was just hanging out with my mom, and her friend went to the doctor and she didn't have a baby anymore. And she doesn't know what happened. And, she was pregnant and now she's not. And she doesn't remember, having a miscarriage. That's something people would notice most of the time. You'd be bleeding or something. But she lost her baby.
Were you close to that individual?
Yeah, she was a family friend. She's my friend's sister, and she would like usually come by in the weekends and hang out. And so I would see her every now and then. I didn't hang out with her that much because she was more like my mom's friend, and I would just say hi and go. And that would be like most of our interaction, just very casual, quick hello. Maybe I eat next to her or something.
This is an aspect of these moments that I don't seem to understand. You would think that that dream would be her dream, right? Like she should have, and maybe she did. I don't know. Did you ever talk to her about this?
I never told her about it because it's like, it's kind of creepy, right? And it's like to tell her after the fact seems insensitive.
Yeah.
And she's definitely not somebody I should be dreaming of. Like she's nice, but it's not somebody I'm thinking of before bed or anything like that. She's just my mom's random friend. And I think I was like a teenager, like an older teenager. Like at that time, like I didn't care who was pregnant and so on.
It's kind of disturbing. Like, why did you have the dream, right? And I've heard this before. It's happened to me. I've had premonitions meant for other people. And I've talked with some people who have also experienced the same thing. I don't understand why this is. And it seems to happen with individuals that we're really not close to.
Do you ever feel like you've gotten somebody else's dream and it's not somebody it's maybe it's your neighbor, like you're not even in the dream, like you don't know why it's in your head, like half my dreams are that.
What do you think that could be? Or what do you think it could imply?
I have no idea. Well, sometimes I think maybe in my head I'm trying to craft a movie and tell a story that isn't all about me. Like maybe my brain is still trying to watch TV, but like it has to create a TV show or something. But they're usually violent, but like unrelated to me. And I'm just reacting and being upset that I saw something. But also, I wake up and I'm like, who, who are those people? Like, why would they do that? That's awful. Or like, why did I think that up?
Do you know these people to be real people or are they just random characters in essence?
They're they're very random. There was this one where I think one of the ones where I remember most that it felt like a first person dream, but it wasn't me. It was like I'm putting on socks and they're itchy, but like I'm a guy. Like I'm like a maybe I think an adult male just being really uncomfortable and like tossing in their sheets that were uncomfortable. And like I woke up and my sheets were fine. Like I was comfortable. Like I wasn't wearing an itchy outfit. And it was just a nuisance to like go back and dream about being an uncomfortable person. And it's more funny than disturbing because like he wasn't doing anything terrible. He was just and then I wonder like, do am I actually waking up and I am that guy, or like does he fall asleep and then he's me, or just had my head in this weird space of like, where do you go when you sleep? Are we sharing a consciousness? Is it like a timeshare where like sometimes it's mine and sometimes it's his? And
Taking it a step further, I remember this story that I had heard where there is this woman and she was in a vehicle with her sister and some of their friends, and they were driving on the road, and she passes by a house. This is up in New England area. She passes by a house and she immediately recognizes this house. She begs the sister, stop the car. So they do. She gets out of the car. She runs to the front door, knocks on the door because she just had this realization that I know this house. Somehow this is connected to me. She knocks on the door. The woman homeowner answers and just screams when she sees this girl. Then the male homeowner comes to the door and is in shock. And the girl is like, "Hey, I don't mean to scare you, but this house just seems very, very familiar to me. It's very, very similar. I don't know what it is about this, but I just had to stop." And then the guy goes, "Well, it should be familiar to you. You haunt it." What? What does that mean, right? It turns out, so a well-known paranormal investigator got involved with this case after the girl had explained this, and she said that she had a lot of dreams about this house. The paranormal investigator then interviewed the homeowners, and it turns out that the homeowners were seeing a ghost that looked just like this woman on their property and just looking out the window for something. The girl said that in her dreams, it seemed like she was looking for her kid or her child. And they would just see this day in and day out. But for her, it was a dream. For them, it was reality. It was an apparition. So it's almost like it calls into question, what is the essence of a ghost, right? What is the essence of reality? Are we crossing over into each other's worlds inadvertently, or maybe on purpose? Maybe there's a reason for this. What is causing this, right? And these are random people. They shouldn't know each other, and yet here they are coming together under these extraordinary circumstances. So when you tell me these dreams where you are somebody else, maybe they're experiencing you. I don't know. I mean, we can only speculate, right?
Yeah. I mean, it feels unfair that like I have to experience, or maybe it's the other way around, where I get to be me, but that person has to be themselves, the uncomfortable person. I hope they're okay if they're actually a person.
It just occurred to me right now, but the sensations of deja vu, right? Where we think that we've experienced this before. How crazy would it be if that individual, that man with the itchy socks you described, was having an experience at the exact same time of deja vu because he wasn't experiencing it. You were experiencing it, but for some reason you were
All
connected with him.
right. Like he already had that thought before, but not as himself.
Points to ponder, right? There's no way. How do you
Right.
prove this stuff? And if anybody listening to this show has any thoughts on this, I'd love to get your take on it. Just send me an email. Go to normalparanormal.org, look for the contact form, drop me a
Or
line.
if you're a person with itchy socks
There you
and
go.
you dream of sometimes being comfortable but annoyed,
If you're that type of individual, get in touch with Danielle directly.
we might be the same person.
Yeah, right. Most people tend to overlook these things, right? These seemingly mundane experiences, but they could mean something more. I tend to look at the patterns. Are there any things that emerge in these experiences that are similar to other experiences? Have you had any more of these actual premonitions where the event actually did take place, and it was something that you had dreamed or something you had seen?
They happen, but mostly they're very minor things. Like I would have a dream that you know too many people were at a meeting, or like I put a certain amount of pens somewhere. Like it's not um, it's not violent or scary, and so it's just like, oh, I had a dream that I put these away, or somebody put these away for me, and they are put away, but I didn't.
Yeah, no, I think this happens a lot to people. And because they are
And
so
those are the
mundane,
ones we ignore.
you got it. because they don't seem significant at the time, right? There's no deeper meaning. There's no obvious meaning, I should say. These,
Right. We just move on.
you got it. And there's probably nothing truly paranormal or supernatural or metaphysical with these experiences. They may just be an extension of the human experience. These may be just really normal things that happen a lot.
One of my theories is maybe we're just really good at predicting things, like more than we give ourselves credit for. And so we can already imagine what's going to happen next. And a lot of the things we predict might be mundane. And and then they happen just like you imagined, and it's like a memory, like you did it again, but it was just a prediction, and so you have to do everything twice if you're good at predicting.
Let's kind of go into a different topic, time travel.
Oh no.
I know we've kind of had some jokes about it, right? But I mean, do you think time travel could exist?
I don't know, but I believe that some people's perceptions of time are different from others, and it's not exactly the same thing. But some people, they'll say they're time blind. Those people who are always late. They don't know how long something has been, and there are old stories about. I think they're about people like that. There was a story about a Japanese fisherman. I don't know why. In this story, he ends up in the ocean, and he has a great time. He like meets some people and creatures and stuff, and he feels like it's very brief. And then he comes back up, and all his friends are dead, and his home is gone, and it's like 100 years later. And I think that was just like an exaggerated story about time blindness. It's, it's sort of a time travel story.
The reason why I bring this up is if you ever had access to something that allowed you to theoretically time travel, would you use it or would you be afraid of it?
I would use it if I were elderly and there wouldn't be there wouldn't be much to lose for me if I do screw things up because I was about to die anyway. Not that elderly people are all about to die, but like if if I knew I was gonna die like within the next few years or something, and like I had nothing left to lose. Like if I come back and all my friends are dead, well, they're already dead because I'm very old.
Okay. Well, how would you use it though? Like, what would be the point if you had access to it?
Um, I might use it to like resolve arguments with friends. Oh no, my friends would be dead in this scenario because I'm elderly. I don't know. Like maybe like a vacation. Like I would go somewhere. I mean, would I come back as me? Because I can't go back that far because I'm a person of color.
Oh, I
and
see.
I'm a woman. I'm a woman, and so you have to be careful about where you go when you time travel.
True, but you're also good at hiding in the shadows too. So,
That's true. And it's like back in the olden days, like I might be able to convince people that like, oh, I'm actually like an angel or something, and that's why I'm on a tree. I don't know. and, and then they can't get me, or they shouldn't, or else Jesus will come.
okay, there we go. Plot twist. Let's get into your experiences with strange individuals because you've had several.
I remember I was telling you about when I was a kid. I think it was like in the seventh or eighth grade. I was walking home, and there was a man. He just This was in the suburbs in California, so just hot day, no real reason to be like out and about. But he got out of his car and he started talking to me, and I didn't know what to do with that, so I started talking to him, and um, he might have been a pedophile. I don't know. He was something was wrong with him, and I didn't notice this right away, except for like he just looked really out of place. Like you said, like maybe he's a time because he looked dated. You know, when people, and maybe some people just look like this, but his car looked dated too. This was probably like 1999, but everything looked, you know, like it was from the 70s. And he just had like all these, like, it seemed like his colors were faded, like of his car, of his clothes, of his, just his being. Or maybe he was just like old and unhealthy and poor. But, you know,
Yeah. But it stood out as unusual to you at the time.
yeah, because he definitely didn't belong there. He wasn't like everybody else. And he just didn't seem of the time.
Well, what did he say to you?
He was, I think he gave me his business card or tried to give me his business card. He wanted to take photos of me, which is creepy because I was a person in junior high. And he was complimenting my legs, which was in hindsight also creepy. And then my friend happened to catch up with me because we usually walk home together. And she interrupted this interaction, and he left. And then a woman, it so happened that a woman was parked across the street. She thought he was strange. And so she took down his license plate number and his description and like didn't leave the area until he left. And I was safe and didn't get in his car or anything. And I have no idea who she is. Yeah, she was watching the whole thing.
We could speculate maybe she was a guardian angel, or maybe she was you from the future, protecting you in that present.
I mean, she didn't look like me, but
Okay.
I think, you know, like I'm lucky in this way where people just happen to intervene at the right time almost all the time.
Really?
And yeah.
Do you remember the strangest experience that you've had?
So a few years ago, my ex-husband had gotten in a car accident or a motorcycle accident, and I was in Belize with my now husband, my current husband, and I never pick up my phone. I only picked up my phone this time because I had been back and forth with my landlord in New York about my rent payment, and they didn't get it, and they needed it, and so on. And so I was playing phone tag with them all day. I pick up finally, thinking it was them, and it wasn't them. It was a social worker. But I had already said I was me. I would have thought it was spam otherwise. And I was like trying to hang up, and they're like, "No, no, wait, wait. Are you Danielle?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then they asked me if I was okay, and then I said, "Yeah." Like, where are you calling from? Like, who? I gotta go. I'm on vacation. I thought you were my landlord. And so they asked, like, are you? Do you have like brown eyes, black hair, about 5'4", 5'5"? And I was like, yeah. And then they asked if I was married to my husband, and they said, or to my ex-husband, and I was like, no, we got divorced months ago. And they proceeded to tell me that he's in the hospital, he got in an accident, and that there was a woman who fits my description, who was also in the accident and unconscious. And they thought that she was me, which, you know, I mean, it happens. A lot of people are about my height with hair color and so on. But before she could tell anyone, the NYPD had contacted my mom and told her that I was in the hospital and unconscious and in this accident because the description was so on point. They thought, oh, it must be his wife, and they were by my house or my apartment, the one I was arguing with about to with my landlord. And so they call my mom, and like when I was with my current husband in Belize, we were about to take like a little plane to like another area in Belize, and so she couldn't call me and you know see if I was okay or anything. Eventually, she did get a hold of me, and she was having a hard time believing that I was totally fine, and that I was like, no, I'm not anywhere near there, and everything on my end is fine. Like I'm physically fine, and but yes, eventually they did find out who the girl was, and they found her family. A couple years later, I got a call from her lawyer. I think she was just looking for people who might be able to take responsibility for this girl because now she's incapacitated. A
Oh
beam
no.
went through her head. Yeah,
Oh
it's
gosh.
awful. Yeah, so her family's been taking care of her, and it's just very unfortunate. And I mean, unfortunate doesn't do it justice, but strange incident. It's just bad timing. Like I think we had divorced maybe 6 months before that, and one of our last conversations was about his motorcycle being stolen, and I said it was good, because riding motorcycles in the city, it's kind of sketchy. And he said it wasn't nice, and that was one of our last conversations.
Do you find that you have more bad luck than good luck?
I think I have really good luck. Like I end up in the front of lines. I end up usually getting to where I need to go. Like I'm good at like getting the next standby flight or little things like that. And it might be because nobody notices me. Like I remember one time some lady had to be escorted off the plane. She had an argument with a toddler or something weird. But I was really impatient, and so like there were two officers escorting her, and I went right between the two and just walked. And then later I was outside the gate, and some people I worked with were like, "Did you go when they went?" And I was like, "Yeah."
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so you would make a good intelligence agent.
As long as nobody notices me. Sometimes it's the opposite, where like it feels like everybody's staring at you. Invisible cloak just comes off.
Do you like to be invisible, or would you rather be more well known?
I I prefer to be invisible unless, I need to get on a commercial or something like that. Like visibility on my terms. Most of the time, it's really, especially in the city, it's better if people don't see you because, they might lash out at you or try to sell you something.
Have you ever been in a situation where you just didn't want to be there? Let's say a social situation, and suddenly you find yourself physically invisible, where no one seems to pay attention, no one seems to notice you, and you're thinking to yourself, this is kind of cool, right? Like no one sees me, no one's observing me. But then on the same hand, you're also finding it rather weird that people are not seeing you when they should be. And the reason I ask is I've had some pretty interesting experiences myself where I didn't want to be in a situation. In fact, I really despised being at a physical place. And because I hated it so much, I know this is going to sound far fetched, but it was almost like I was physically invisible there. People walked by and they literally bumped into me, um, not knowing I was right in front of them. And I was in offices of executives standing there for several minutes in front of their desk. And then suddenly it was like I appeared to them out of the blue. This is their words. And they said, how long have you been standing there? I wasn't, where did you come from? I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I've been standing here for several minutes waiting for you to acknowledge me.
I get that too.
Really?
Oh, and I'm like trying to be polite and like I'll wait until a person's done with something, but then they finish the thing and then they just keep doing whatever else. But like you're in front of them, but then they don't notice until like you move or something.
Yeah, it's really weird. And it got me thinking, like, do we have more power over our environment than we have been led to believe? Like maybe it is possible to become physically invisible or to put on some sort of quote unquote invisibility cloak and disappear from the world simply because we just don't want to be there because mentally we're not present.
well, we do reflect off of each other, right? And so if you really don't want to be somewhere, you might you might be able to convey that without words to the point where they believe that you're not there and you're to be ignored. Or that's what it feels like. It feels like I've willed myself into not being seen somehow, or like my desire to not be seen is so strong that people can believe it without being told, or without me having to say leave me alone. Because I have been like in front of the line at the store and I don't want to talk to the person because I'm not in the mood and they don't see me. So it kind of works out, except for like I still need to pay for some items. And
But that's a New York thing, right? Nobody wants to be bothered, right? Like everybody just wants to
yeah,
do their own thing. And that's it. Nobody says hello, nobody, whatever.
yeah. And we don't want them to.
Right. Is this something that has kind of evolved as you've gotten older?
I think I've gotten better about like when I want to be present. And like I was at work yesterday, and I was like quietly, I think it's yesterday, but I was quietly working and I was really into my work and just like so lost in it. And then I noticed somebody who is kind of important, and also they always have candy. And so when I saw them, I got a little excited, even though they were walking away and they were saying goodbye to somebody. Like they had already said goodbye, and then they turned around, like as they were exiting, and they were like, "Oh, hi, how are you?" And like I thought that was strange because they were pretty much leaving, and then they noticed that I was there. And I think that was my like, maybe they sensed my willingness to want to be seen, or like that I saw them, and like I was a little excited and happy to see them. But I didn't verbalize it because I'm like, I'm not gonna stop them from going, and I don't know them well enough to like just start talking to them.
You know what a doppelganger is. What are your thoughts on those? Can they exist?
I mean, there are only so many ways to make a person, right? Like it seems like we're all different, but a doppelganger in the sense that they're like they have my personality and everything.
Has anybody claimed to have seen you and they
Oh
were
yeah.
really?
Yeah, pretty often. And some people are adamant about it. Like I've had a guy ask me a couple times, and like it was awkward because I was like talking to my friend and I'm like, I'm not that person.
Wait, so somebody came up to you, they started talking to you like you were that person.
Yeah, and it's happened more than once, and most people brush it off. But I remember that person asked twice, and I was like a little embarrassed for them, but also kind of concerned because like, where is the person they're looking for? Or like, what if it was me? Like, what if it really was me? Like the girl that was haunting the house, except for in the present, because it seems like sometimes people already know you, and not in like a friendly, easy. Like some people are just easy to be friends with, but some people they act like you've already met, and maybe it's my bad memory, but a lot of people say we've already met, or they just seem to know me already, and I don't know what to do with that. I just go with it, like I just.
Are these people that swear that they've met you before, that they know you, that they've had conversations with you, and you just have no recollection whatsoever?
Yeah. And because it's happened a few times already, like I don't press people on it anymore. I don't ask people like, well, where do you think you met me? Because,
Why not? I
it's
mean,
rude.
that's
It's
huge.
rude.
Yeah, but still, I mean, like, how you have relationships with people that you have no idea how you have that relationship with them.
When you see an old friend and they're like, or somebody familiar, and you're like, oh, hey, you again. Like,
Hey,
they kind of
you.
have that expression of like, oh, like we've met before and I know you from a thing. And like, I'm just happy that people seem happy to see me and that I'm familiar in a way that they're not like upset about seeing me. And I think like that's my fear is one day somebody will like be angry at me or something. Maybe if I don't usually upset people, then like whoever else is so much like me that people are convinced it's me is also not running around upsetting anyone. And so we're all just kind of maybe sharing a network, me and this other person. And they haven't messed it up, so I try not to mess it up. And we're both just good, forgetful people.
You mentioned that you're afraid of the phone. You're afraid of picking it up, answering calls, right?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, you went into detail with some of the phone calls that you had, but what really set that off? Like, did you have an experience that really shook you to the core on the phone where it's just you want to have nothing to do with the phone going forward? Or was it like a disturbing experience? Like,
Most of my phone calls, I mean, the things we remember, they're usually not the good things. And, a lot of my experience in picking up the phone has been somebody dying or something terrible has happened. You must, I don't know, be sad immediately because I don't know why grief is like that, or people need to tell others so immediately. It's like I would have been fine not knowing the thing for a couple hours, but it's almost like you deserve first dibs on the bad news or second. Like you'll find like if you're the bearer of bad news and you didn't tell somebody first, but you told their friend, they get offended. And I have no idea why people covet that like the extra few minutes of feeling bad. Like I almost don't want to know.
yeah, I agree that it's an unhealthy obsession. It's interesting because some of the things that you're afraid of or that you've expressed fear in, I look at as no big deal. But then some of the things that to me are a huge deal don't scare you. And that, I guess, is what makes us all different. No two people are alike. Even if they claim to have seen you at a particular place and time where you clearly weren't, aka your doppelganger, no one will ever replace you. So these experiences are unique to you. They're unique to me. They're unique to everybody. And I think a lot of what you shared tonight is relatable to a lot of people listening and maybe even comforting or encouraging or helpful. I think we could all benefit from other perspectives on life. And you have a lot of great perspectives on life. So thank you for sharing some of those with us.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me share.
You have been listening to Terror Signals with Justin Bamforth and presented by Normal Paranormal. For more on this show and other topics of high strangeness, please visit normalparanormal.org or visit the program website at terrorsignals.com.